This seems a little weird to me because we've got a live audience, and then I'm trying to be conscious of the cameras here for our audience that came in online. So we've got people from around the world. I hope all of you realize that we got countries opening up, right? This is all about discovering what we have as a company and as an opportunity. It's a little weird having this thing on, but we're gonna roll with it. So we've got this event planned here today for everybody, and I would encourage you, if you have teammates, if you're here through the live feed, continue to nudge and text blast anybody that you have, ISRs, prospects that maybe you've spoken to before, that they would take the time on a Saturday afternoon to get in here, right? Because you're gonna see throughout the next 2 to 3 hours what we've got going on, and we're really jacked up about it. It's been a crazy 8 months, and for those of you that are guests, you might say, what do you mean 8 months? Well, 8 months ago, last night, midnight, everybody, we wrapped up the eighth month of MPG Xtreme. We launched August 1st. So for those of you taking notes, for those of you that are wanting to understand the project, that's important. That's an important fact. Because when we launched, as you know, we launched with this right here, the XCAP, right? And there was a huge buzz about fuel costs, what this would do. And it's funny because I see Nancy in the front row here nodding. And I'm gonna take everybody that is watching today on kind of a short journey here. Summer of June 15th, 2022. I make a phone call to Nancy, and she says, hey, what's up, JD? And I said, hey, is this on your radar screen? And what I meant about this was the concept of something like this. Are you tracking with me? I was being inquisitive, so it was not your normal contact. I did not get contacted where it was an approach. I didn't get called and asked any questions. I instigated the call. Can you imagine that? For those of you watching, you'd probably like 50 of those, right? You know, your phone dialing, hey, what are you doing to make money right now from home? And that's kind of what we discussed. And she said, this is crazy, true story. She says, I need you to sign a non-disclosure. Now, those of you in the business world, you know what those are. Some of you, of course, think they're not worth the paper they're wrote on. I'm not here to debate that, but it's more the principle of what was she asking me to do? Not talk about it. It's really simple. She says, I'm gonna tell you something, but you can't tell anybody else. Now, in this industry, that generally doesn't work, right? And, but I understood the magnitude. Remember, this is Discover MPG. I want you to understand what took place at that time. She went on to explain that they had acquired the rights, the worldwide marketing rights to this. If you're taking notes, you're here to discover, this is an important fact, all right? Because I knew the history of Andrew and Nancy in regard to this product. Now, I'm not going to deep dive that story, but from 05 to late 08, they crushed it around the globe. So for those of you dialing in from places like South Africa, Nigeria, Mexico, the Philippines, probably some people from the EU, the UK, and our friends to the north, of course, Canadians, we're glad you're here. Because this isn't just about what's happening here today in Minnesota, right? With this big snowstorm. This is turning into a global event, which is really cool. But we want you to understand how we got to today, right? This is not an April Fool's joke by any means. This is very serious. Really interesting that today is the day we held the event. It's just the way the calendar lit. So back to Nancy and I conversing, she went on to ask me, what are you doing to combat this craziness with the pandemic? Now, some of you have taken the attitude, you don't want to hear about it anymore, right? COVID and the pandemic. But what you have to internalize is last summer at that time, only roughly 9.5 months ago, I was observing just human behavior in general and looking at this industry macroscopically. the network marketing industry, because I've been a student of the industry since 1989. And I had contacts throughout the world where their paychecks had literally blown up, not in a good way, like they disintegrated. Because what were we all told? Got to stay home, got to ride this out, right? But we thought that was going to be a few weeks, and we know it turned in for many around the world, our friends that are dialing in today, it turned into a couple of years. For some of you, 2.5. For some of you, you're just now getting back to possibly some normal life, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So Nancy says to me, how do you like these gas prices? What do you think I said? Man, I just love $4 a gallon. Now, some of you, you know, around the globe and around the country, you'd love to have $4 a gallon today, because don't we see gas go like this? But if you poll people and you say, what do you think the general trend is? What do they tell you? They tell you they believe that it's going to go back up, right? And it's high enough as it is. I don't like $3.40 a gallon where I come from. Again, if you're on the West Coast, what is Andrew, West Coast? What do you think today? $4.50, $5?
California prices are probably $4.60 for gas and $5.50 for diesel.
$4.60 and $5.50. Andrew's our resident daily gas price tracker. And if you $4.90 today, right? So I was intrigued like that. Okay, now some of you, you're thinking, why were you intrigued? Well, as an entrepreneur, why wouldn't you be? So if you're here to discover MPG, my question would be, are you interested in being an entrepreneur? Right? Because if you're here and you've been around this, you know the questions, but I think there's more important questions, right? Do you want a real company? Do you want a real business? Do you want to be part of something that's new and exciting? Are you tracking with me? I get a lot of head nods from this way. So all of you online, I'm sorry, you're just looking at, you know, me, I guess. So scary thought. So if you're serious about being an entrepreneur and making money in this crazy economy, right? Now you have to say, okay, what am I looking for? Why am I looking for it? So she goes on to tell me, and all of you know the story, they'd gotten the rights. They went to a couple venues to see if there was interest. And I think that was honorable. You'll hear more about that story in Colorado Springs. But they ended up calling some lifelong friends, of course, Randy and Kathy Tyner, which is why we're here today at this location, right? We're discovering what Randy has here. And by the way, some of you are wondering, okay, so why at the office? Because believe this or not, in this crazy world we live in, there's companies that are started that have nothing. They tell friends of mine, it's cool to be virtual and on the cloud, okay? Now, if you've ever done that, God bless you. For me, that's code for run, okay? Do you understand why? What don't they have any intention of? Staying around. Are you following me? So I'm going to keep reeling you back in no matter where you're dialing in from. This is about discovering what we're doing here. Let's not forget this. I don't think I need to pitch those of you that are here. Can we agree with that? Okay. Now, my hunch is on these crazy things, we've got people that are guests, right? And they're getting a little different angle today. And so we're going to do our best to portray that. But let me ask you why you might look today. How many are paying attention to things like inflation, groceries, gas prices? Okay, hang on. Raise your hand. I'm going to do this, Brian. Okay. That's the live audiences. You know, we're not faking it here. We didn't pay these folks to come. Okay, but it's deeper than that. Okay, you're waiting for your money. It's so much deeper than that, because here's where you need to connect the dot when we do these calls and these events. And we ask this, is that why you have to latch on to. I had somebody yesterday tell me, I'm struggling with my why. Have you ever felt that way? You might wonder, what did I say to them? I said, I feel sorry for you. Are you kidding me? With the stuff we're dealing with today? So let's go down the list quick. It's inflation, it's interest rates, it's building materials. Yeah, some of it has come back down. But how many of you have young adult children? And just here now, for those of you that are global, I get the numbers are going to be different, but you start seeing kids that are 18 to 25 paying $1,300 a month for rent, plus utilities or more, right? This is in rural Wisconsin, where my son is, $1,300 a month. Here in the Metroplex, what would that be? Up to $3,100 a month. Interesting. And any number in between. So Brian calls me the other day, the Wizard of Oz behind the glass, pushing the buttons today. And he says to me, I have another story. And some of you have heard this, for others it'll be new. He said, I just got a call on my 6-month renewal on my insurance. We're the same age, mid-50s. They've got a clean record, no tickets, no accidents. I'll speed this up. And his insurance agent delivers the bad news. $150 a month is the increase. Okay. Is it 42 or 45%? Brian, hold your 42%. Now, stay with me, everybody. Because if you're not paying attention, there are things, it's like the blizzard that hit here last night, right? We didn't expect that. And for those of you that flew in from the South, I know you didn't like it, okay? That's how I view that insurance thing. So he talks to his agent and she begins to explain why is because of the supply chains. Are you getting this? The parts to fix. And she says, but buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to hit your homeowners too. Okay. So I'm about to tie this in a bow and bring Andrew up here. Here's where I'm going with this. You're discovering MPG, but you really need to discover your reason why. All right. You need to start, I would challenge you to start asking the right questions like, what do those guys and gals see that maybe I haven't seen? Right? Because it's one thing for us to pitch you a business, but it's another for you to try to wrap your mind and maybe internally here, what are they seeing and why are they so passionate? What are they creating? And what we're creating with MPG Xtreme, we believe, is in a post-COVID world, a post-pandemic world. I mean, right now it feels like a jet ski. Okay, who went to their website this morning and seen some of the updates? Anybody? Oh, shockingly, very few. Well, Nancy's gonna debut that in a little bit. All these things going on was a vision. And I remember on that call, because I brought one of the guy in the cowboy hat that you'll see here in a little bit. I got him on the phone a couple days later, within 48 hours or whatever it was. And he said, this is built for speed. This could be a really big deal. And he went on to ask, I think, the most fortuitous, important question, and that was, Nancy, what happens when people have too many of these? And she said, we have a plan. And at that moment, and that was June, we were 6 weeks away from being able to tell anybody about it. Byron's like, we need to do this. Okay. Now that's my setup for the event. And the folks that come behind me, they've got more in-depth, more hands-on, more about MPG Xtreme. What I wanted to do though was challenge you, because for those of you dialing in through the live stream, you're not captive. You could turn the computer off and you may be even tempted. And I would ask, why would you do that if you had a life-changing, game-changing opportunity in front of you? Like, suck the life out of this event. It's okay. You can get back after 4 p.m. Central, you can get back to your weekend. But for right now, I'm throwing out the challenge to lock it in and just listen to the words, jot